Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to look at what was in the 2025 Crafty Advent Calendar. I always get this as a gift to myself every year because I get a little thrill every day opening up one of these little flaps to see what is revealed underneath it. So we had dies, we had stencils, stamps, embossing folders, and a couple packages of sequins. And what I love is it does show on all these tabs what's in it. And like this is a die set, it gives you an idea of how to put it together. So now that I've opened everything, I will cut off all of these flaps and put it in with the dies. I don't use this to store because I'm afraid they'll fall out and I'll lose something. So I can keep everything in a container and then I just put in a little plastic bag the dies, the day, and how many dies so that I can keep track of them and I'm not losing pieces. So I'll cut these all off and put them in with the dies, and then I'll know what I had for this year. The other thing that I have been doing since these came out is I die cut and put the dies and the stamps, stencils, whatever in this little book. So I've got all my previous years, and this is this year's. So I put the dies in here, and then when I want to go use one, or I remember, hey, I want to use something, I can flip through here, see what year it is, and then can easily find it. And I always like to look through this as well to remember what came out in that year. So we've got our dies, our two stencils. We had 3 stamp sets, 2 narrow embossing folders, and then 2 sets of sequins. Now this year we only had 2 sets of sequins instead of 3, but we had an additional die in place of that set of sequins. So I want to go through this. This is not in the order that they came. So it wasn't day 1, day 2, day 3. I just kind of lay these in there as they fit. I do want to start with a dog. That is day 1. I remember that because I thought the dog was so neat. So we've got a little Poochie laying on his back and the words, I woof you. And I thought, well, that might be perfect for a Valentine's Day card since that's the next holiday coming up. I tried to use as many of these pieces together and not pull a lot of outside dies, just stayed with what was in the advent calendar. So I did have this heart, though, already cut out, just laying in my stash. And I thought I'm going to use that. And I had I Woof You cut out in red. So I thought I'm going to cut it out in black, use it as a shadow. And because I did that, I thought, well, I'm going to pull this die set. This is Karen Burniston's heart layering set or nesting set. And so I just cut out a black heart just to kind of mimic what I did here. And then I did go ahead and cut out the heart as a card base. And even though the black shows outside of this because it's, off of this heart, that's fine. I think it still looks neat from the back side. But I'll use that dog a lot. It also has the set of sequins, which are translucent. They're actually neat. They're not totally clear, but you definitely can kind of see through them. So that gives my heart a little sparkle. So I love this. I know I'll get a lot of use out of that dog. Let's take a look at the starship. And this one was more towards the end of the month. And I, again, try to keep these simple. And this had a sentiment from the stamps. After I opened everything, then I went back and I looked at the stamps and I'm like, okay, a lot of the stamps went with one of the dies. So this says, you are out of this world. I just embossed it on a piece of matte paper. I thought, when you take off, you're leaving the earth. So why not use a piece of map for the card base? Again, very simple. This was very simple to put together. But if you have other dies, and I know I have other dies that are space related, I can use this in conjunction with my other die sets that I have just in my stash. All right, let's look at this little worm and this leaf. I love this guy. I thought he was so different. And I'm like, this is another one I'll get good use out of. I could use the leaf separate from the worm. And then there's some raindrops there. I used the leaf in a little different position on the flap of the calendar. This is how they showed it, but I thought I could use that leaf in a different position. And I just kind of had my worm winding around the stem there. And You Make Me Smile is from the stamp. And then this is the skinny embossing folder. And I just laid it down. Now I did have to practice a little bit so I didn't have a big line in it. But that is one of the embossing folders. This flower one here. So you can use it more than just a strip. And I embossed it, then moved it over and embossed it and just kept doing that until I had my full piece of paper embossed. But again, the worm is cute. Definitely one I will be getting some use out of. I'm thinking great for spring cards, and wouldn't he be cute with some flowers? Okay, let's see. Let's go back to where we were here. The next one is the bunny, like a magic bunny coming out of a hat. So that one, I wasn't sure really kind of what to do with that. Again, now that the month is over, there's a lot of ideas out there online. So I will be going through. I'm curious to see how other people use some of these dies, and this is one that I will be looking at. So what I did something a little different. I flipped the hat around, and instead of the bunny coming out of the hat, the bunny is peeking over the hat. The flowers are from one of the die sets that we will take a look at here a little closer. And Congrats is also in the calendar, which we'll be taking a look at. And then this is the other embossing folder that came the strip. Now you can see kind of my lines where I tried to line it up in between. So this is just kind of, I don't know what you're congratulating them for. You could use a different sentiment, but I just tried to use them kind of in different ways other than a bunny popping out of a hat. I didn't use like the magic wand on this one. So again, just trying to experiment different ways. The phone is one that I really liked. And I combined this one. This one I'm going to show you first. It has several different elements. This kind of it just kind of grew and grew and grew as I played with it. I wanted this to be simple, but I just kept adding to it. So we've got our phone here, and then these other pieces here. Let me jump forward a little bit and show you that. So that's this piece here. When we look at this die, and it cuts into one pass cuts 5 different pieces. So this is 5 different passes with a different color each time. But then I can group all those pieces together in a different order. So I didn't throw anything away here. When I cut some of these other pieces, I had these pieces fall out that, were on a different place of the die, a different layer. So I just kept using them, and that's kind of how this card just kept growing. The circle but on the background is the stencil. So let me show you that. And this one I wasn't sure. I thought, I'm not sure how much I'll use that. But I actually, as I started playing, thought of more ways to use that. Perfect for the background for my phone. And Hello You is actually from another die set from the stamp, which we'll take a look at. But I thought, why can't I just use these individually as well? So that's what I did on this. So this combined, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different pieces in this set, 3 dies and 1 stencil. Originally, this is what I was going to do with it, much simpler than the last one. I've got my phone, and then I used this piece. I wanted to do something than just always using it in a corner, and I thought this could be like the vibration of the telephone ringing. That was my idea. And then Let's Chat Soon is from one of the stamp sets, which is perfect for the phone. And then this piece that I stamped it on was actually like this layer. When I cut this out, this is like this piece of paper here. Then I just thought, I can use that, and the stamp fit on there nicely. So again, this one is pretty simple, but it uses several different pieces out of the calendar set. Okay, so that's the first page. Let's start over here. We've got this Good Luck horseshoe and a shamrock. I kept that one super, super simple and basically just used it like they showed on the flap. Now you could dress this up and put flowers with it, maybe cut out more of the shamrocks, cut out a couple of the horseshoes. You could do a number of things with it. The good luck is part of the die, so that does emboss or die or cut into your horseshoe. But this would be a great card to send to somebody if they, were doing something and you wanted to wish them good luck beforehand. This might be a good, quick, and easy card to do. So this is one that, I'll keep in mind when I have a specific event that I need a good luck card. The fishbowl. This was kind of neat. So I used the stencil, that circular stencil we looked at, and then the fishbowl with the fish. You could just think how many different kinds of fish you could make. One thing I did do, I did add, this is the first thing where I thought, I'm going to do something different with this. So that's kind of my little, I don't know, rocks or waves, if a fishbowl could have waves in the very bottom. So I just used like the second and third layer here just to put something more into the fishbowl. But this is a great piece just to use just like this. And then I used Good Vibes, which was from this tag set or banner set. So we used Congrats, and now we have used Good Vibes. So again, just trying to put some different pieces together. And then we've got this neat roller skate. So I always feel like, I got to make them realistic looking. So I made a white roller skate here, and you could put this little, I don't know if this is like a flames or whatever. You could put that on there or leave it off. I put it on just because it was part of the set. And then I thought, I'm going to have some fun with my roller skates. I'm going to make some red roller skates. And then I did put that little, I don't know what that is, flame thing on there. Again, you could put that on or leave it off. But I really had fun just mixing up the colors and making some unrealistic roller skates. And there's Happy Day. So the third of these little sentiments. And I do love these little sentiments where the letters are die cut into the paper. I seem to use those a lot from the various years. The next one then we have is this piece of bread with whatever you want to put, jelly, peanut butter, whatever, with a face cut out. Now, I'll be honest, I kind of struggled with that, and I did look online because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with a piece of bread with a face in it. The bread itself is solid, so I'm like, I could use that, but I'm not sure what to do with this. So somebody had used it with peanut butter and jelly, and I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And then when I looked at the stamps, it says, we make a great pair. I also think I have in a totally separate, unrelated stamp set, we go together like peanut butter and jelly. So I'll probably pull that one out. I could use it too. Could use this one for Valentine's Day. Spellbinders had a monthly kit that came out, I think it was September, that had a couple other breakfast foods with faces on it. I believe it was a waffle and an egg, and then with the arms and the legs. This is probably not really my thing, but it's cute. And after seeing the peanut butter and jelly, at least that gave me kind of an idea of what to use it for. So I don't know if this is kind of something new that's coming out with food with faces on it or what, but I guess time will tell if that's a new trend. And then finally we have these flowers. So there's 3 different flowers. And we looked at this one earlier, the little buds on the bunny. So here's the larger flower, the larger medium flower, and then the little bud that was on the bunny that we used with the bunny. But Spellbinders always has great flowers. I love to layer them up. And then Happy Day, they usually had a border die. So I think that this is what this is supposed to be, is their border die for Happy Day there. And the letters do cut into each of the flags of the banner there. And then you have another piece that's solid that cuts out and just lines up behind that to give those letters some color, whatever you want to do there. So again, I use this very simply, but I do like those flowers, and I think how many things I could use those with, and Happy Day, I could use that with many other things as well. Then we had Best Wishes, another sentiment set. This is another good one to use for a number of occasions. I used it very simply. So there's that round stencil, and then my Best Wishes. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. It has a tape over the top, so it makes it look shiny. So it shines a little more in person. And then I use some of those translucent sequins again. So in the center, I glued two of them together because I didn't want like these lines to show. So I glued two of them together to make it a little more opaque. And then it sticks out a little more. And then I've got a few other smaller ones that just give the card some shimmer. So again, pretty simple way to use Best Wishes and the stencil. And then we have this stamp, and I thought this was really neat and really different. And I've seen this used a couple different ways. So this is, when I saw it, this is how I put it together, because usually on the stamps, it shows you somewhere on the back of the stamp what the stamp says that you're going to stamp. And then we've got love you, hello, and thank you. But then, you needed to use this piece again. So as if you were stamping if you wanted to. So there's a couple different ways. So this is one way this is how what came to my mind, but this is how another way that I saw it, where they just used like the side part of the stamp. They didn't put this on there. So they basically just used this lower half, and then they would stamp onto the paper. So then that's when you would see what was on the bottom of the stamp. Now, you could definitely use, and this is how I've seen it, where you cut out just like the thank you part of it, and you would put this die cut down. But I thought then, that kind of sticks out more. So I thought I'm going to play with it. And I just took the thank you stamp, and it does cut out the outer line and stamp into the paper. So it cut that piece of paper out. You can't see the sides as much, but you can definitely see that top and bottom cut line. And I just put it back into my paper, and then, put my backer on it, the black paper on the back side. So even though I see the lines, this is more to me like I stamped it on the paper. I didn't die cut and then put the die cut. So just depending on how you want to use it. The other thing that I think this goes with is the field notes tools from Spellbinders. Now, I haven't really used this. This is one of those things where I need to get out there and start using it. But it had this really cool pencil. So I thought if I wanted to add a little more to this card, and again, this is very simple, nothing wrong with that. But if I wanted to add a little more color, I thought I could use something as simple as a pencil and just add a little more to that card. It's very difficult for me to do clean and simple. So I'm always thinking I got to add something. And here's the stamp again, used a little differently. So here's the stamp handle with the word. And then I could have used this, die cut this and laid it down there. But again, I've got this hang up that it looks like a die cut. So I just die cut this out, and I made that as my stencil. You might see where I've kind of gone outside the lines, but I just taped that down and took a fine point Sharpie and then just went through each of those letters. So to me, that looks like it was stamped. Again, just another way to use it. There would be nothing wrong with just gluing that down as well, if you wanted to do that, or if you just wanted to just use that on its own, you could do that. And then if I decided just to use it, I would definitely put some black paper behind it so it looks like black ink, and it would just show through that thank you rather than having the pink and white show through those words. So again, just different ways you can look at this and use that. And then, let's see, we've looked at this with a telephone. We looked at this on several, and so now we have these beautiful butterflies. So there's 4 butterflies, 4 separate stencils, and they're one layer. So there's not like layering ones. So I just used different colors through one stencil. I thought those were beautiful. So what I did with that, let me first just show you the background. And I used Best Wishes, and I did put some of the translucent sequins on that. And then I thought, well, I love this, but I want a little more. So I made a butterfly, and it kind of melts into the background a little bit. This was, I think this was a poppy stamp, a poppy butterfly. I should have pulled that die out, but I thought it went very well with this. Now, unfortunately, I'm kind of covering up my big butterfly here. I really wasn't thinking in advance how I was going to do this, but I do love that butterfly, and it was easy just to take the stencils, and I used the same colors for each of them. So just another way to use it. Again, if you can use them with other die sets that you have. And then here's the second sentiment stamp set. So we make a great pair. Let's chat soon. I'm here for you, and I heard it's your birthday. And finally, the third stamp set is this mushroom one, and 2 other sentiment sets included Hope Your Day is Magical and Thank You So Much. So basically, I stamped this twice and made it in a card. I used the same colors, but this is just a little note card that I just used Thank You So Much. And if you wanted, you could just stamp that, emboss it, and maybe not even color it in. But I just did very, very basic watercolor, nothing fancy. But that's just kind of a different feel from some of the other cards that I could create using the dies. So that is 2025's Advent Calendar. I think I made 16 different cards, and I just kind of sat down over a couple nights after I had everything cut out, and then just kind of put things together, stamp the pieces, cut out a few more pieces. But this gives me a huge selection of different types of cards that I can use throughout the year. They are not holiday dies per se, although like my little dog here, I can make a Valentine card, but you can use them for any occasion that you need a card for. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again in a future video.